The moment I found my mother's will was the moment I realized my entire childhood had been built on lies. Not the small, protective lies parents tell their children, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, but massive, life-altering deceptions that had shaped every relationship in our family for 30 years. I wasn't supposed to find it. The manila envelope was wedged behind her antique dresser, the one she'd always told me would be mine someday. I was just cleaning her house while she recovered from hip surgery at my sister Elaine's place. That's what dutiful daughters do, right? Clean their mother's baseboards while the favorite daughter gets to play nurse and bask in all the gratitude. God, that sounds bitter. I guess I am bitter. Wouldn't you be? Let me back up.
I'm Rebecca.
Becca to most, little B to my dad before he passed 4 years ago. Middle-class suburban upbringing in Connecticut, decent college, mediocre career in marketing that pays the bills but doesn't exactly light my soul on fire. The responsible one. The reliable one. The one who never moved more than 30 minutes from home, because family is everything. That's what Mom always said. Family is everything, Rebecca. Usually right before asking me to sacrifice something else, and I believed her. For 36 years, I believed her. I was cleaning out the dust bunnies that had accumulated under her bed when I noticed the corner of the envelope. At first, I thought it was just junk mail that had fallen and been forgotten. But the paper was thick, expensive. The kind lawyers use. When I pulled it out and saw "Last Will and Testament" typed across the front in bold letters, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Mom had always been secretive about her financial affairs, but she'd promised all of us kids, me, Elaine, and our younger brother Michael, that everything was arranged fair and square. Her words, not mine, that I shouldn't have opened it. I know that. It wasn't sealed, though, just folded over, like someone had been reviewing it regularly, and my hands were trembling. Not from fear exactly. It was more like my body knew what my mind didn't yet understand. Something was very wrong. I stood there in her bedroom. The same room where she'd brushed my hair as a child, where she'd taught me to apply lipstick before my first dance, where we'd cried together when Dad's cancer diagnosis came back terminal, and I read words that unraveled my entire understanding of family. To my daughter Elaine, I leave my house and all its contents, as well as the full balance of my investment accounts and life insurance policy. The room seemed to tilt. I had to sit down on the edge of her bed, the same floral comforter she'd had for 15 years crinkling under my weight. To my son Michael, I leave my vacation property in Vermont and the sum of $250,000. My breath caught. The words blurred on the page as tears filled my eyes, but I forced myself to keep reading, searching for my name. To my daughter Rebecca, I leave the sum of $10,000 and my collection of costume jewelry in recognition of the financial support her father provided her throughout her adult life. Financial support? From Dad? I'd never taken a dime from my parents after college. In fact, it had been the opposite. I'd been helping them with bills for years, especially after Dad got sick. The costume jewelry was particularly cutting. Mom had always promised me her mother's diamond earrings and sapphire pendant. For my firstborn daughter, she'd said countless times. But that wasn't even the worst part. The bottom of the page was a personal note, written in my mother's perfect cursive. Elaine and Michael, if Rebecca contests this will, please remind her that she's already received her share through her father's secret assistance. The proof is in the blue box in my closet safe. The combination is Michael's birthday. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. What secret assistance? What blue box? And why would she hide this from me, but tell my siblings? I felt sick. Physically sick. But also something else. A strange, detached clarity descended over me like I was watching myself in a movie. This calm, rational part of my brain whispered, "Find the box." I knew where Mom's safe was, behind her winter coats in the walk-in closet. I'd seen her open it once when she thought I was downstairs. The combination wasn't hard. Michael's birthday, 11-26-87. The safe door swung open with a soft click that seemed deafening in the silent house. And there it was, a powder blue stationery box that had once held my mother's wedding invitations. I'd seen it in old photos. My hands were surprisingly steady now as I lifted the lid. Inside were dozens of letters, all addressed to my father. All from Carla Winters. The name meant nothing to me at first, but stapled to each letter was a bank statement showing withdrawals from my parents' joint account. Thousands of dollars, month after month, for years. And photos. A young woman who looked eerily like me, only with dad's eyes instead of mom's. And a little boy who grew from a toddler to a teenager across the progression of snapshots. The room spun as the realization hit me like a physical blow. I had a half-sister. And a nephew. Dad had been supporting his secret second family for decades, with money that had been meant for our future. Mine, Elaine's, and Michael's. But why punish me? Why just me? The answer came in the form of a handwritten letter at the bottom of the box. My mother's handwriting again, but this time in an angry, jagged scrawl I'd never seen before. Rebecca, if you're reading this, then you've discovered the truth I've kept from you. Your father begged me not to tell you that Carla was your biological mother, not me. We adopted you when she couldn't care for you, but your father never stopped supporting her or her son, your half-brother. He swore me to secrecy, claiming it would devastate you to know you were given away. I've honored that promise for 36 years, even as he drained our savings to support his other family. Elaine and Michael are my flesh and blood. You were always his responsibility. My legs gave out. I sank to the closet floor, surrounded by the gentle swish of my mother's, no, not my mother's, hanging clothes. The smell of her perfume, which I'd always found so comforting, now made me want to vomit. Everything I thought I knew about myself had just been shattered. The baby photos in the family album. The stories of my birth. The countless times Mom had said, "You have my mother's smile." Lies. All lies, but I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes? Hours? The sunlight shifted across the carpet, creating new patterns of light and shadow. Somehow, that seemed appropriate. Everything was different now, seen from a new angle. My phone buzzed. A text from Elaine. "How's the cleaning going? Mom's asking if you found anything that needs her attention." The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. They knew. They all knew in that moment. Something crystallized inside me. A hard, sharp clarity that cut through the fog of shock and betrayal. This wasn't just about the money or the lies. It was about 3 decades of being the outsider in my own family without ever knowing why. The little slights, the inside jokes between Mom and my siblings that I was never quite part of. The way Michael and Elaine always got first pick of holiday gifts. The subtle reminders that I wasn't quite as bright, quite as pretty, quite as deserving as my siblings. My hand hovered over the phone. I could confront them now. Demand answers. Scream and rage and break things. But then what? More lies? Tearful apologies that changed nothing? Hollow promises to make things right? No. This required something more strategic. Instead, I texted back. "All good here. Just found some old photos. Nothing important." Then I carefully returned everything to the blue box except for one letter, the earliest one from Carla, which had an address and phone number in Boston. I put the box back in the safe, closed it, and replaced the winter coats exactly as they had been. I finished cleaning the house with a strange, detached efficiency, my mind racing ahead, plotting. Before I left, I took one last look around the home that had never truly been mine. The family photos on the wall seemed to mock me now. All those forced smiles hiding such ugly truths. 3 days later, I sat in a coffee shop in Boston across from a woman with my eyes, my chin, my tendency to twist my hair around my finger when nervous. Carla Winters, my biological mother, looked like an older version of me, lines of hard living etched into a face that had once been as smooth as mine. "I never wanted to give you up," she said, her voice catching. "But Robert, your father, convinced me it was best. He was married, established. I was 22 and barely making rent. He promised he'd make sure you had everything I couldn't give you. Did he ever tell you he made me the family scapegoat?" I asked, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "That his wife resented every penny he sent you, so she took it out on me?" Carla's eyes widened. "He told me you were cherished, their precious firstborn." I laughed, a hollow sound that made the couple at the next table glance over nervously. He lied to us both then. We talked for hours. About her life after giving me up. About my half-brother, Sam, who is now a teacher in Chicago with 2 kids of his own. My niece and nephew, who had no idea I existed. About the man my father had really been. Not the devoted family man I thought I knew, but a manipulative liar who kept 2 separate lives running for decades. As the afternoon faded into evening, something unexpected happened. Sitting across from this stranger who gave me life, I felt the first tender shoots of something new taking root. Not forgiveness, I wasn't ready for that. Not even acceptance, but possibility. The possibility of creating something authentic from the ashes of everything false. When I got home that night, there was a voicemail from Elaine. Mom was being released tomorrow. Could I come over for a family dinner to welcome her home? I smiled as I deleted the message without responding. Let them wonder where I was. Let them worry. I had other plans. The next morning, I walked into the office of Gilbert and Associates, the law firm whose name was on my mother's will. I'd like to speak to someone about contesting a will, I told the receptionist. And I'd like to discuss laws regarding fraudulent adoption and family inheritance. The young lawyer they assigned me looked skeptical until I laid out the contents of the blue box, photos of which I'd carefully taken before returning it to the safe. This is quite a case, he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. Family law isn't typically this dramatic. You have no idea, I replied, feeling the unfamiliar sensation of taking control of my narrative for the first time. We're just getting started. 2 months later, I stood on the steps of the courthouse, the autumn wind whipping my hair across my face. Behind me, Carla waited nervously by her car. Ahead of me, I could see my mother, Helen, I should call her now, being helped up the stairs by Elaine and Michael. She looked frielier than I remembered, or maybe that was just another performance. Helen saw me first. She stopped so suddenly that Michael nearly lost his grip on her arm. The color drained from her face as her eyes moved from me to Carla waiting in the background. Rebecca, she said, her voice barely audible. What have you done? I smiled, not the accommodating smile of the dutiful daughter I'd been pretending to be all these years, but something new, something that belonged entirely to me. I found my mother, I said simply, and now I'm finding justice. Elaine stepped forward, her face twisted with the self-righteous anger that had always come so easily to her. How dare you put Mom through this after her surgery? This will kill her. That's funny, I replied, feeling strangely calm. You weren't concerned about my health when you were planning to steal my inheritance. Michael wouldn't meet my eyes. At least he had the decency to look ashamed. As we filed into the courthouse, I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. I might not win this legal battle. Adoption laws were complicated, and the statute of limitations might work against me. But I'd already won something more important: the truth. And with it, my freedom. The family that had defined me for 36 years no longer held that power. For the first time, I could see them clearly, not as the perfect family unit I'd worshipped and strived to please, but as deeply flawed, selfish people who had used me as both a trophy and a scapegoat, depending on what served them. As the judge called us to order, I caught Helen watching me with an expression I'd never seen before: fear. She was afraid of me now, of what I knew, of what I might say or do. Good. Let her be afraid. Let her lie awake at night wondering what other secrets might surface, because the greatest revenge wasn't going to be whatever financial settlement we reached today. It wasn't even about exposing their lies. It was the fact that I was finally, truly free of the desperate need for their approval. All rise, the bailiff called, and I did rise. Straight-backed and clear-eyed, no longer burdened by the weight of lies I hadn't even known I was carrying. Whatever happened next, I would face it as the person I was choosing to become, not the person they had tried to make me. That was worth more than any inheritance.